Hello and welcome to the Bellingham Real Estate Podcast. I'm Paul Balzotti. I'm here with harml Lidhran.
Hey.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And today we are talking agricultural berry farmland. And in the ag world, you are a really good guy to talk to because we want to discuss dividing and developing agricultural land as well as the berry farm world. Basically all things, if you have agricultural land in Whatcom County, or Skagit County for that matter, ways that you can, build a business or create revenue from the agricultural land, and you are in all of that.
Right.
So let's get right into it. So you own and run a berry farm. You've sold berry farms, but then you've also subdivided, and developed agricultural land as well. And we're going to touch on berry farms, how to evaluate them a little bit, and the water adjudication situation around the farming in a bit. But I want to start with the subdividing and the developing of agricultural land. So give us your personal, you have a success story doing it, and then you're in the middle of doing it again.
Right.
Walk us through, you have what you already have done as far as how you had, was it 20 acres? What was it?
Yeah, it was a 20 acres parcel that I had. And then it was in a 5-acre zone, but instead of having 4 5-acre lots, we decided to do cluster lots where I was able to do 1-acre lots and then keep the rest for egg. So I was able to have a 16-acre farm plus 3 extra lots on it.
Sweet. So you basically, and you just went down to the county, they expressed that you could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bit of you got to jump over a little bit of hoops of getting the soil tested for the septic because we're out in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting that storm to watch, and what else was there? Yeah, just to have the permits to build.
Yeah,
was the biggest thing.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying dividing part was a few hoops, but just making sure that you could then the lots would be buildable essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you basically took 20 acres. You did cluster platting,
right,
is what we call it, divided, and then did, so even though it was zoned R5.
Right, but we were able to cluster them and then keep the rest for egg.
And that's really interesting to know. So if somebody sees a 20-acre, a 10-acre parcel, sometimes you can take less than 5 of those acres and put them in 1-acre pieces.
Correct. But however, when you are purchasing, and if it's in a 5-acre zone, but for example, these 16 acres, nobody else can subdivide these right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it was like a trade-off essentially.
Right.
So basically you take that makes perfect sense. So you take the 20, and instead of being able to make 4 5 acres, you keep 16, and then you get 1 acres of the 3, which eliminates the others from being able to be divided. So you're still getting 4 lots.
Right. Yeah.
But then you get to keep 16 for
farming. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So then, and here's the thing. When you're doing development, as you learned, and people may or may not know, a lot of times a 1-acre lot could be worth, 80% as much as a 5-acre lot in some cases, because not everybody really needs 5 acres,
right,
unless they have unless they're farming or have a very specific purposes like equestrian or something like that. So you probably got more bang for your buck all around because you have more acres to continue to farm.
Correct.
And then, so you did the cluster plotting for the 4 lots, which is just like surveys. Did you have to do a wetland delineation?
No, I didn't. I wasn't in the flood zone, or I wasn't wetland either, so worked out.
That's good. So you just do surveys, then you
the septic and make sure power was there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Then you bring power into each lot.
I could have, but I didn't get to that stage. I was able to sell it before.
Oh yeah. Basically sell it to people who are willing to bring the power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So and then and so how much were you selling those lots for?
I sold them for $250 each. $250 each.
So that's my point. Is let's say you would have done, so you got $250 for each one of those 1 acres. At 5 acres, they're probably only worth $350.
Right.
And so it was better. And then you get to keep 16 acres.
Right. Because if I was going to sell the 20 acres, I think I would have got like $750 out of it. But since I subdivided and stuff, I was over 1.2.
There you go. Yeah. Wait. Okay. Let's back that up though. So you're over 1.2 because 250
each, 3 lots.
3 lots.
Yeah, and then the other one was I believe almost 450 plus two. We added the 215 for that fourth lot with the 460. So we sold that one for 640.
Because of the
16 acres, yeah.
Okay. And then did you sell it to somebody who wanted to farm it, essentially?
Correct. And they can still build a house there too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I want to talk to you about the ability to farm, and how you evaluated that.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just, while we're still talking about developing property, you then just went ahead again and took some of that money and you bought another property.
Right.
And have you already started subdividing it?
No, I'm still waiting for the wetland delineation.
Okay.
So,
but
once we get that.
Let's talk about, you saw that on the MLS.
Right.
We talked about it and then evaluated it kind of together, but you're the one who found it, looked it up. And so somebody wants to contact you and learn how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of have your eyes open for these opportunities because they can exist, but sometimes you have to kind of dig a little deeper. What caught your eye with this next investment that you just got involved in?
Well, especially with the water adjudication, there was no water rights for that one, so it wasn't moving, and so they had to bring the price down. And I was looking at it, and then I'm like, oh, it's an R5 zone though, but it does have wetland. But I was like, 30 acres, I still could at least get 4 lots out of it.
So it was a 30-acre property.
Yeah, which
priced at what?
It was originally it was priced at like 700,000. By the time I picked it up, it was like 570.
Did it have a house on it?
No, nothing, no power. No.
Okay, so 570 for 30 acres.
30 acres.
And you evaluated the 30 acres and realized that you could still break it out into 5-acre pieces, you said?
Yeah, and then make them cluster lots. But because it's wetland, so I won't probably get all 6 lots.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get at least 4 though.
So are you going to do the same thing there where you'll have one big lot and then...
Correct. So yeah, one big lot and then I'll have about 3 smaller lots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but you said there's there's water issues.
There's water. So there's wetland, which will stay in the ag part.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did get some shares with it too. So I got 3 shares that came with the farm.
So they came with water shares.
Water shares.
And when you say water shares, are they literally like well water right shares that were in the deed with the property? Is that what you said?
Correct. It's a Mountain View Association.
Oh, it was a water association.
Yeah.
So that's always a huge,
right.
You're not dealing with drilling a well or trying to get that approved.
Right. So I got those water rights that came, which was like another 20,000 each.
Okay.
Which I didn't have to pay for. Came with the property.
Okay.
So that was nice.
So let's just because this is we're trying to give good information here and trying to be a little provocative here about what's possible. So walk everybody through, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So you bought it for this much.
Right.
How much do you plan on putting in? How much do you expect to get out?
All right. So the application and everything, I believe, is going to be about 10,000.
Okay, but you paid how much for it?
I paid 470.
470. Okay, so 10,000. Now 480.
Sorry, I paid 570.
Oh, 570.
Yeah.
570.
Yeah.
Put 10,000 into application.
Right. And then for soil testing and septic, all that, I'm going to be putting in another about 10,000.
Okay. So 570, 580, 590.
90. And by the time I'm done, just with all the permits and everything, I think I'm close to 600.
Okay, so let's say we're round up to 600.
600, yeah. And then after that, there still need to be power if I want to put in a road.
Mm-hmm.
And and the septic designs.
Septic design. So you're not going to put the septic in, but you'd like to get the designs in so that somebody knows.
Yeah, I like to put in the design so everybody knows it's possible to put the septic in and they don't have to get the study done.
And how much is a design?
Design's about $3,000.
Okay, so let's say you have another 12,000 into that. So we were already at 700.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're putting in septic designs and maybe putting in a road. Maybe. So are you thinking you're budgeting maybe another $100,000 maybe in all in? So maybe now you're up to 800 total?
I could be, if I put in the road, but then I bring the price of the lots up.
Right.
The more I put into it, the more the price comes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have 800 and then, so now, I mean, obviously we're not pre-marketing because we're not listing these right now. You don't even know if you're going to list these.
Yeah.
But just theoretically, if the proposal would be then you're assuming you would have each lot list for how much?
Right. If they were ready to build, I think I would put it up for about 300,000 each lot.
And they all would be about the same?
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 lots would be 300,000 each, and then I still have the farm.
And then you still have the farm.
Yeah. So I kind of make my money back, and I still have the farm as my profit.
So that's sweet. Yeah. So then the farm, but there's no house there.
There's no house, and there's no water rights. So that's tricky. That's where that issue comes up.
Yeah.
So I could make it into a ranch though, because it's pretty plain.
Yeah.
So it could work as a ranch for horses or even cattle.
You mean lease it to somebody else so that they could, or what do you mean by that?
Correct. Yeah. Because I'm still allowed to put a well in there. I believe without even a permit, I think I'm allowed to get about 5,000 gallons per day.
Okay.
So
just for a residential, residential well.
No, for domestic animals.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So we can put that in, and then I can have a little ranch going.
So and then build a house.
Build a house, the ranch, and then sell it as like a ranch.
Like a spec, like build a spec house, develop
right.
it. So, but you could be 800,000 in, let's say all in.
Mm-hmm.
Sell the other 3 lots for 900 after closing costs, maybe 850.
Yeah.
So now you make $50,000, and then you have a 5-acre lot for free.
No, it'll be more than that because it will still.
Oh, because you're going to cluster plot them.
You cluster. Otherwise, it'll only be taking about 3 acres out. So
they're still 1 acre.
So I still have about 27 acres.
That's See, so this is what I wanted to share with everybody. What's possible?
Yeah.
And so I presume it's not like these are they're not all the time on the market on the MLS like this, but it's kind of like when you're looking for a certain type of car, you see that kind of car on the road all the time.
Right.
When your eyes are open to these opportunities, you are looking for opportunities like this, and you go on.
Exactly. Because it depends on the land, right? What the possibilities are. Yeah, because if I had water rights, it would have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's still quite good. I mean, that's still quite good because even if you got a building permit on that lot and just decided to sell that last lot.
Yeah.
Let's say that lot's now worth 500,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it should be more because I was thinking with that one, there's other houses around that neighborhood that are going for $1 million each, and they don't have 27 acres.
Yeah, So it's a nice area too.
Right.
So
it's pretty close to the city too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I mean, that's a huge profitable venture, but that's also going to take a couple years to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
because to subdivide, to break it down, it takes about a year.
Yeah.
Usually.
Okay. Yeah. So there's time involved too, but I wanted to go through that because it's super interesting, and not a lot of people understand those possibilities that are out there. So thank you for sharing that. Let's jump over to the berry side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that Whatcom County is one of the largest berry agricultural areas in the country.
All right.
You have a berry farm. You've helped people buy and sell berry farms, and you kind of specialize obviously in agricultural land and development, but also in farming. When you have somebody looking for a berry farm, or looking to farm in general, is it pretty much almost always let's find something existing that's already farming, or is there just as much of a demand for like finding land that somebody could? How's that world work?
Well, usually finding land, because especially with blueberries, once you put blueberries in, they're good for 50 years. But it takes about 8 to 10 years before it gets to full production. So someone that's invested in blueberries and already been there for 8 years, they want to usually keep that farm because that's when it's starting to produce a really good income, right?
Yeah.
And then, and what I've noticed is a lot of dairy farmers are leaving and they're turning into berry farms.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that, do you think? It's more profitable?
Yeah, they're saying that dairy's not profitable here anymore. Just it's too expensive to run a dairy farm. So they're moving towards Idaho. They're leaving the state for that. And then berries are getting picked up. But there seems to be a lot of blueberries now, though. And the thing is with raspberries, their life cycle is about 5 to 10 years, where you can replant, pull them out. And where blueberries, once they're planted, you don't want to pull them out. And since there's so many blueberries out there, this year they had overproduction. So there was farmers that couldn't even sell their fruit.
I was going to ask you what the demand is, the demand is.
Sometimes you're getting $1 a pound or more, and sometimes nobody even wants your fruit. So that's another thing you have to look into.
So I mean, and is most of the production, is it selling to? Is there like a middleman industry for that, or where are you going to sell your berries?
Yeah, there's canneries. we usually sell it to cannery, and then they have contracts to sell it out.
Yeah.
And but thing is the payment. Some canneries will pay you every 2 weeks. Some will pay you within 2 years as the fruit sells. It's like a co-op. Yeah, so they can't pay you until they sell it themselves. And which is all right. But the thing is, again, every year you don't know what you're going to make. Yeah.
It just depends on the demand.
Depends on the demand, depends on the weather too. You can get frost damage on next. Last year, blueberries, 40% damage.
Real? Oh, because we had that huge freeze.
Right. And so, last year blueberries are pretty bad.
Yeah.
And this year there was no damage, but now it crashed. Market crashed.
Yeah. So everyone's income dropped on them.
Right.
Yeah. And so what about the raspberry world then?
Raspberries doing all right now. They've been pretty good. I would say raspberries still in the market. It's a good market for raspberries, especially as the farmers, everybody's starting to plant blueberries around here.
Yeah. So you feel like the demand's more...
Demand's still there.
Lower supply, higher demand in the raspberry world right now than blueberries.
Right.
So, but what you're saying is, and I think we've had this discussion before, that one of the trickiest parts about an existing berry farm is once they've done all that work, if they do want to sell, they want a premium usually.
Right. Yeah.
And that can be a very tricky sale. And so a lot of times if you do see most of it's like off market where they don't even want to list it.
Right.
They'll just say, if I can get this dollar amount, I'm willing to sell. And we call that a pocket listing. And obviously we try to bring everything to market, but it does seem like there's that whole thing where they generally don't want to list, but they maybe would sell for the right price.
Right. You see the older farmers that want to get out, they don't want to list usually. Yeah. But they're like, if there's prices right, they'll sell it. And usually that's the thing with Zillow, you can't really run any comps or anything on these prices. They don't know what the market value, because of the water shares, the land, the pH level, what can you grow there. Some of these lands are like floodland or wetland where you can only have like corn or potatoes. And then there's other lands you can plant berries. But sometimes there's a parcel that has bad berries on it. They're like making maybe 1 ton an acre. And it could be just because the farmer is just lazy, right? It could have been, but the land is great. And then if another person comes in and they can make it into 5 ton an acre. Yeah, it all depends on the land and what you're capable of.
So you have to really walk it and talk to the people there and understand what they're doing, how they're doing it.
Right.
To really get any idea of what the value really could be. And I mean, would you, in other businesses, you might say, okay, well, I want, a seller might say, I want 2 years of profit for my business, 2 years of, the income on the business plus this. Do you guys take, like, let's say a berry farm, let's say the house and it's on 50 acres, and the house in the 50 acres, Zillow says it's worth $1.5 million, just spitballing here.
Right.
But the berry farm is producing $200,000 a year income. I mean, are you generally, is that kind of what you're trying to do with the valuation? I know you said it's more complicated.
Yeah, it depends, right? Because of what? Again, because you could have nice berries and all of a sudden you find out there's no water rights to it, but this farmer's been using the water. So you got to look into that too. You got to have that feasibility. Yeah. And sometimes it takes longer than 20 days. The average usually is 20-day feasibility. Sometimes you need 2 months feasibility just to make sure everything checks.
Because some of it's not always on the up and up as far as it's all checked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
So, but you were hearing what I'm going with that as far as the valuation, as far as like, you would be taking the building, the lot.
Correct. Yeah, you'll be putting the valuation,
adding some income into, like, look, they're not going to just sell it. Like, there's $150,000 they're making every year on this. They're going to want some of that future like out for their, added, the business value added to the property value, which also could be difficult to finance, but there is farm loans, right?
Oh, correct. Yeah. So you could get farm loans, and then you can even get loans for your plants. But usually the way I've seen it is where you pay for your plants, but then you can get that money back as a loan.
And so you refinance it because the bank sees that
they're planted. Yeah. So
it's like a construction loan on berries.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Where you have to pay up front though first. Or construction loan, you get that for the 9 months usually, and then you can turn it into a mortgage. Yeah. So
if you have a buyer who is interested in and having berry, or let's say they want to do raspberries. They say, Harm, I want to do raspberries. Yeah. They call you tomorrow and say, I'm looking for raspberry farm. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're going to, people who would sell their farms. Right. So you're going to start with your network. Yeah. But beyond your network, let's say they look at those opportunities and what's listed, which there's not really usually much listed in that world too. Yeah. But then is there land out there still here and there that you see that you're like, that could be farmed, most likely?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of farmland around the county. And again, it's just because wetland doesn't really hurt most of the farms, depending on what you're planting. And flood, even I have raspberries in a floodland, which are doing great because it does flood sometimes in the winter for maybe a week. But after that, it's fine. And the raspberry plants are dormant at that time, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. It could be wetlands that are much more valuable as a raspberry farm than they would be to somebody which wants to build a house.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that generally is that in all directions, or is there certain parts of Whatcom County that tend to do better?
Yeah. Well, the wetlands are good for blueberries, where the raspberries don't like to have too much wet.
So it has to be a little less wet for raspberries.
Right.
And so, yeah, and we're talking Skagit, Whatcom County. There's different sections all over.
Yeah, Skagit, there's more of a frost damage over there compared over here, so it's a little tricky. But I think we get better production out here compared to Skagit
in general.
Yeah.
Last question on this, and then I want to just touch on water adjudication, and we wrap up. Right. But what about, you see a lot that's wooded? Do you ever see? But it seems to have good soil. Mm-hmm. Do you ever see guys actually clear cut and then try to literally uproot stuff, or do you generally need to have kind of that pasture land that have you seen guys actually clear cut trees?
My dad's actually done that. We had about 10 acres where it's just all forest, and we were able to sell the trees and get them to work the dirt up for us, and then we were able to plant it. Oh, we made some money off that too.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't just have to be pasture land.
Right.
Right. It could actually be, if the dirt's good enough, the soil is good.
Yeah, and you can make money off the trees at the same time.
If it's marketable wood.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I didn't realize that. That's good to know. Okay. Well, last thing, water adjudication. I know you've been talking to your sphere about it, talking to farmers about it. What's the latest as far as, my understanding is the biggest concern is still that you could end up, if this could be years and years and years of going through, but even just for resale and all that kind of stuff, the biggest concern is do I have a right that is going to be proper for a farm versus just a basic water right? Is that kind of the biggest concern right now? The level of the gallons the amount of gallons that the county will say you actually have?
Yeah. So as the farmers, I think everybody's trying to put meters on their wells because they need to know that they're going to have to show that soon enough. And again, it's hard to tell who used it and who didn't for a while. And so if a property might come with water rights, but technically are they valid or not? Yeah, you still have to go court case. But I would say, since everything's going into court, I would say make sure there's an application before you buy any property now. Make sure they already put an application for that.
The application for their water rights?
Water adjudication.
Water adjudication. And then
even if
savvy.
But you don't know if it's going to go through or not. But at least there's an application.
Yeah, and then basically, if there's production, if they have an actual business going, and then especially if they've been metering it, that's going to further help their case, to get what they're looking for.
Exactly. I know some farmers when they didn't need to use the water, they ran the water anyways.
Oh my gosh!
Just to run the meter. Oh. So they were just running it right back into the well just to keep the meter going to make sure they didn't lose it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the adjudication process is indicating they want to see what you use.
But every year the weather's different. So sometimes in July it's raining throughout it. You don't need that much water. And sometimes it doesn't rain in July.
And you can't work off of any of these community or municipality water rights. You need well.
You need well, yeah.
Yeah, you need a well.
So we use a lot of water, right, when it comes to plant.
And then does anybody using any catchment systems to supplement?
No, not seen.
They're generally just running on well water.
Right.
Yeah. And then maintaining those rights. And so it's a big...
yeah. And just to try and improve it now.
Yeah.
An issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's a long way to go on that. It's definitely something everybody has to be thinking about when they're in in that business or
Right.
property.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good stuff. This has been really interesting, man. So if you're interested, obviously, in berry farms, buying or selling, agricultural land, developing land, Harm's your guy. Thank you for joining today, Harm, and thank you for listening or watching, you guys.
Thanks for having me.